I need you to stop whatever you are doing. Not in a moment now, because I am about to tell you something that happened to a man in Sheffield on a Tuesday afternoon, in the middle of clearing out his late father's house, that will make you want to call someone you love. Before this story is finished, not after. Before. I am not saying that for dramatic effect. I am saying it because that is what happened to every single person who read this story on Reddit. They stopped reading. They picked up their phone and they called. The story got 62,000 upvotes. The top comment, which itself got 14,000 upvotes, said simply, "Excuse me while I go call my dad." I will explain why in a moment, but first, I need you to understand who this man was. His name on Reddit is Tuesday in Sheffield Forever. I will call him Michael. Michael was 44 years old. He had grown up in Sheffield, left at 18 for university, never really gone back, in the way you do not go back to a place when the life you are building is somewhere else. He visited Christmas, Easter, the occasional birthday, but the visits had gotten shorter over the years, and the calls had gotten less frequent, and the gap between who his father was and who Michael had become had widened in the quiet way that gaps do. When nobody decides to widen them, they just do not tend them, and so they grow. His father, Robert, had been a quiet man, the kind of quiet that can be mistaken for distance, for disinterest, for not having much to say. Michael had mistaken it for all three, for most of his adult life. They had not argued, had not fallen out, had nothing dramatic between them. They had just never quite found the frequency, the way of talking that felt natural to both of them at the same time. Robert would ask about the job. Michael would answer. Michael would ask about the garden. Robert would answer. And they would sit with the television on, in the background, neither of them saying the things that were actually true, which was that Michael had never felt quite close enough to his father, and that he had always assumed there was time to fix that. He was wrong about the time. Robert died in February, quietly, quickly, a heart attack on a Wednesday morning. He had been making tea. The kettle was still warm when the neighbor found him. Michael got the call at work, drove to Sheffield, in a state he cannot fully describe, even now. Not grief, exactly, not yet, something more complicated. The specific weight of something unfinished that has just become permanently unfinishable. He sorted everything that needed sorting, the funeral, the paperwork, the calls to relatives who had to be told. He did it the way you do things when doing things is the only way to get through. And then, 6 weeks later, he went back to Sheffield to clear the house on his own, because he had said he wanted to do it on his own, and because he had not fully understood what on his own would feel like until he was standing in his father's kitchen with a box and nowhere obvious to start. He started in the kitchen, moved to the living room, worked methodically the way you work when the alternative is to stop and feel things you are not ready to feel. He got to the study in the early afternoon, his father's desk, the kind of desk that accumulates things over decades, papers and pens and old batteries and things with no obvious home that end up in the drawer, because the drawer is always there. He opened the top drawer, found the usual things, stamps, a broken watch, a card he had sent for a birthday he could not remember. He opened the second drawer and found a notebook, not old, not battered, Not the kind of thing you would dismiss as unimportant. A plain navy notebook, the kind from a newsagent, looked like it had been written in recently. He opened it and read the first line, things I should have said to Michael. He put the notebook down, picked it up, put it down again, stood in his father's study for a long time. And then he sat in his father's chair, the one behind the desk, and he read. His father had been writing in the notebook for 3 years, not every day, some weeks, nothing, some weeks, several entries. But for 3 years, Robert had been sitting at this desk, in this chair, writing down the things he wanted to say to his son, and had never said. Michael read for 2 hours. He did not move from the chair. He did not make tea. He did not answer his phone when it rang. He just read. And I am going to share some of what was in that notebook. Not all of it, because some of it belongs only to Michael, but some of it because Michael shared it on Reddit because he wanted people to read it. He said, I am sharing this because my father never got to say it, and I think there are a lot of fathers who have not said it, and a lot of sons and daughters who have not heard it, so here it is. The first entry was from 3 years ago. Robert had written, Michael called today. We talked about his job, and about my garden, and about whether I needed anything from the supermarket. We talked for 11 minutes. I wanted to tell him that I am proud of him, that I have always been proud, that the way he has built his life, quietly and carefully, and without ever asking me for much, is the thing I am most proud of in my own life. I did not tell him. I do not know why. I will tell him next time. There was a second entry. 3 weeks later, he called again for 14 minutes. I did not tell him. Entry after entry, call after call, visit after visit. At Christmas, last Easter, the birthday in October, and every entry, some version of the same thing. I wanted to tell him. I did not. I will next time. There was an entry from 8 months before Robert died. It said, I am not sure there will be many more next times. I am not saying this to be dramatic. I am saying it because I am 71. And I know what I know. And what I know is the next times are fewer than they were. And I am still not saying the thing. So I am writing it down. In case, just in case the next times run out before I do it properly. Michael, if you are reading this, and God help me, I hope you are reading this. I need you to know some things. I need you to know that every time you left, after Christmas, after Easter, after every visit, I stood at the window and watched your car until I could not see it anymore. Every time, I need you to know that I kept every card you ever sent, there in the top drawer, under the stamps, every single one, from the ones you made as a child, with the spelling mistakes, and the glitter that went everywhere, to the ones you sent as an adult, when we had both agreed, without ever saying it, that cards were what we did. Now instead of the things, we did not say. I kept them all. I need you to know that I talked about you to everyone. The neighbors, the men at the allotment, anyone who would listen. My son, he lives in London now. He is doing very well. I said it so often. They probably got tired of hearing it. I never got tired of saying it. I need you to know that I understood. More than you think. That I was not the easiest man to know.
The house looked the same, the dinners looked the same, the matching keep cups, still on the counter. People see what they expect to see, and everyone expected to see Anna and Daniel, so everyone saw Anna and Daniel. Even when Anna and Daniel had already started to become Anna and Daniel separately. The first time Anna had her own flat, she was 40 years old. She had never lived alone, not once, from her parents' house to university halls, to the flat with 2 friends, to the flat with Daniel, to the house with Daniel. Never alone, she stood in the middle of a 1-bedroom flat, in South Leeds, on a Saturday afternoon, with a box of kitchen things at her feet. And felt something she could not immediately name. It took her a moment, and then she recognized it, possibility. Not happiness, not relief, just the specific feeling of a blank space that belongs to you, that you can fill any way you want, that nobody else has opinions about. She unpacked the kitchen things, put them wherever she wanted, made a cup of tea, sat on the floor, because the sofa was not coming until Tuesday, and drank it, in her flat, in the quiet, that was entirely hers. She wrote on Reddit, in a thread asking what nobody tells you about divorce. She wrote, "Nobody tells you that the grief and the relief arrive at exactly the same time, that you can cry for what you have lost, and simultaneously feel lighter than you have felt in years. That both of those things can be completely true, at the same time, and neither one cancels the other out. Nobody tells you that the hardest part is not the ending, it is the moment you realize the ending had already happened, long before you were brave enough to name it. That the conversation in the kitchen, on the Sunday morning, was not the beginning of the end, it was the end of the beginning of the end. And the real ending had been coming for years. She is 42 now, she still has the flat she started. She does not know yet what it is, and she is still trying to understand. But she gets up on Sunday mornings, makes coffee, sits at the desk she put by the window, and writes. For herself, for no other reason, just herself. She went to an exhibition last month, alone, stayed for 3 hours, did not explain herself to anyone, did not check if anyone else wanted to come, just went. And stood in front of paintings, for as long as she wanted to stand there, and felt. She said, completely like herself, for the first time in a very long time. She still cares about Daniel, he has a new flat too, they are, carefully, genuinely, okay. Which is not nothing, which is, she thinks, more than a lot of people get. She does not regret the 11 years, she regrets the years she spent, inside them, not being honest about what she needed. That is the thing, she would go back and change, not the marriage, not Daniel, the silence. The years of going inside, and buying the shopping, when what she should have done was stay in the car a little longer, and listen to what she was telling herself. Long before the car park on a Wednesday afternoon, long before it took a Tesco to finally hear it. If you are sitting in your own car park, with the engine running, saying something to yourself that you have been afraid to say, I want you to know that hearing it is not the same as knowing what to do with it. You do not have to know what to do with it, not yet, you just have to let yourself hear it. The shopping can wait 5 more minutes. Thank you for listening. Leave a comment below if this felt familiar. You do not have to explain, just tell me you are here, I will know what you mean. New story next week, and love.